Hi everyone. Today I'm going to share off you a research paper, and the topic is an analysis of cultural vocabulary in ELT textbook. And the researchers are two university professors. The first one is Andres. The second one is Maria. I'm today's presenter. I'm Thomas. First of all, let's look at the pictures for the two researchers. And the man on the left hand side, that is Andres, and the right hand side, that is Maria. And they are the professors at the University of Rioja in Spain. So before we look at the research, let's look at the table of contents. Uh, there are six part of today's presentation. They are introduction, theoretical framework, methodology, results, conclusions, and my own critique about this research. First of all, let's look at the introductions part. The introduction part. So we can start by looking at this introduction by looking at the move 1, 2, 3. Okay, so as for the move one part, the researchers they are talking about two quite important concept. The first one is intercultural competence. And intercultural competence is a necessary skill for students' success in interactions with members of different cultures to raise self-awareness of one's own culture and cultural values. So, according to the researchers, they think that it's quite important for teachers to raise students' awareness about intercultural things. Okay, and the second theme or second concept is the vocabulary teaching, and it has achieved a great influence in FLT due to its essential role in the development of language proficiency. So, as for move two, so it seems that there is a scarcity of research which explores culturally related vocabulary in ELT textbooks. So this is the gap for the researchers that want to fill the gap by doing this research. So, therefore, the researchers want to explore how the cultural components regarding vocabulary is presented and addressed in two textbooks implemented in the last year of secondary school and baccalaureate from a secondary school located in the north of Spain. And the second one that is, they are also interested in examining if culture-related vocabulary is considered equally important at different level of education, and how culture-related words are treated through teaching activities. And the last one that is, they will also pay close attention to the ways target, source, and international cultures are presented along the books. So if you find that move three is quite complicated, we can just simply by looking at the research questions for this research. They are number one, is the intercultural competence present in the vocabulary contained the textbooks? And the second one is how are different cultures target, source, and international treated in those textbooks? Okay, so and now I think you guys have already know the research questions, but or the purpose for reading for conducting this research. Let's start by looking at the theoretical framework. And first of all, let me just give you the definition of for these terms because these terms are so important for you to understand this presentation or this research paper. The first one is source culture. Source cultures refers to the student's native culture. And the second one is target culture. Target cultures as cultural cultures involved in the study of a language. And the third one is international culture. So the culture that is neither the native culture nor the culture which is the object of the study is called international culture. As for intercultural communication, that is the ability that people who participate in different cultures contexts have to reconcile or mediate between different modes present. So the keywords here are reconcile or and mediate. Okay, so the researchers think that textbooks are not just a mere source of knowledge, but the representation that students have of different societies and their respective values. So it is quite important for students to learn culture through textbooks. Okay, next one. Uh, so according to the previous studies for the English textbooks, they discovered that the representation of these three subtypes of cultures is not balanced. The three subtypes are the target culture, the source culture, and international cultures. The status for the three are not balanced. And the second one, some of these analyses have not only proved that the cultural competence is insufficient and imbalanced, but there's also a tendency to create stereotypes if we don't teach our students the right attitude or the right things for them to learn the cultural part. They may tend to create a stereotype in the process of cross-cultural communication. And the second part, that is the vocabulary in ELT textbooks and its cultural components. So the first thing that the researcher want to emphasize is that vocabulary is strongly linked to the culture, since words are different in each language, not only in their form, but also their meaning, since they are affected significantly by the feelings, ideas, experiences that are shared by the community which they occur. So, and next one, that is, to our knowledge, there is a lack of research concerning the intercultural competence present in the vocabulary included in ELT textbooks used in Spanish secondary schools. So that's the reason why the two researchers want to conduct this research. That's the gap for them to fill by doing this research. We have already looked at the research questions, so I'm going to skip this part. And the third part, that's the methodology. So let me just give you the briefly introduction to this method. The researchers use two textbooks used at different levels in the same secondary school in Spain. And the first book, that is English Alive 4, and the second one is Aspire Upper Intermediate. As you can see from the chart, there's the age difference. For the first one, the students are around 15 and 16. And the second one, Aspire Upper Intermediate, the students are 17 and 18 years old. As for the curriculum, English Alive 4 are the students from the last year of compulsory secondary education. As for Aspire Upper Intermediate, the students are the ordinary curriculums of second baccalaureate. Okay, and as for the CEFR framework, For aspire upper intermediate, the students are B1 level accredited and want to progress to B2. Okay, so the researchers compile a list of cultural-related topics, include 12 categories, which represent different aspects of culture. So as you can see here, there are some different aspects of culture. The first one is everyday living. Second one is cultural heritage. The third one is national identity. The fourth one is popular culture. The fifth one, that is it is society. Number 6, geography. Number 7, stereotypes. Number 8, language. Number 9, worldwide issues. Number 10, institutions and organizations. Number 11, varieties. Number 12, social interaction. Okay, so how did the researchers compile or manage these data? These data, they manage the data by using Microsoft Excel. Okay, so each clarification was done separately in order to obtain different quantities and percentage from each textbook, so we can proceed to compare them. Okay, as for the result, here comes the result part for the 2 textbooks. Okay, so as you can see from the percentage, the number 1, the highest percentage for English Alive, that is cultural heritage and geography and popular culture. As for aspire upper intermediate, number 1, that is popular culture and geography and everyday life, living. Okay, as for the proportion, they are the least. They are society, worldwide issues, institutions and organizations, and stereotypes. As for AUI, they are varieties, institutions and organizations, and stereotypes. Okay, so you can just briefly looking at the proportion for the result. So when you first encounter, or when you first look at this this chart, you may feel confused by feel that the total words, there are a lot of difference between the 2 books. The reason is that, or you can see what I wrote down here, that is these data should be taken with caution, since AUI contains 2 more units than EA4. So that is to say, if we just control the number of pages, we can see there's not the big difference between the vocabulary input of each textbook. Okay. So in this part, we are going to look at each category one by one. Okay, so first of all, we can see that both textbooks share 2 of the 3 top categories and 2 of the 3 last categories, as I mentioned just now. So we as for the second part, cultural heritage is the category with the highest result in EA4. As we can see here, that is the highest part for English Alive 4. So we know that the cultural heritage, the vocabulary are almost for maybe the things about proper names of celebrities. And limited reference to intellectuals or people who have influence in the history of a specific culture. And neither Americans nor British, the proportion is about 12%. And as for Spanish-speaking countries, it accounts for about 3% of this part. Okay, so and next one, in AUI, only 8% of these words are related to celebrities or bands such as Jamie Oliver, or Pink Floyd. Moreover, 56% of the words related to cultural heritage refer to popular artists or writers such as Leonardo da Vinci or Shakespeare. And the thing that we can keep in mind is that a higher percentage of the celebrities is neither British nor American in AUI, about 22%. And the last one is no mention was encountered to individuals from Spain or any Spanish-speaking countries. So the thing that is the thing that we should keep in mind is that we don't pay attention on the local cultures or the source cultures in this setting. And the second one, that is geography. Geography obtains one of the highest results in both textbooks. As for EA4, this book, the vocabulary is concerning with geographical locations, are mostly situated in the UK. Okay, so as for AUI, geographic locations are not all belong to English-speaking countries or cities. There are 50% of the vocabulary does not belong to the native speakers of English. Okay, and as we can see from this part, Spanish-speaking country accounts for only 4% of the vocabulary in AUI. Okay, so there are clear differences between the result obtained from both textbooks. EA4 is addressed to younger students who may lack some geographical knowledge which older students are more likely to have. So for this reason, more information was expected about locations mentioned in the textbook. So we just need to give our students the background knowledge or the schema of the place. Okay, so that's the reason why we have the clear difference between the two. And the third one is popular culture. Popular culture seems to be also a recurrent category, and AUI avoids covering controversial topics such as religion, since no data was found about this topic in the textbook, and there's a notable preference to talk about festivals and tradition holidays instead. And in contrast, about 11% of EA4 words are related to religion, especially Christianity. Okay. As for popular culture seems to be also a recurrent category. Oh, yeah, the same. Sorry. And as for everyday living, everyday living occupy the fourth position in EA4 rankings. First one, eating habits or typical dishes accounts for 15%, and sports and leisure activities which are not typical from a specific culture, it accounts for 21%. But on the contrary, everyday living is one of the top 3 topics in AUI because the professionals such as dean or chef accounts for 33%. As for eating habits or typical dishes and common activities of a specific communities, it accounts for 27% of this category. As for language, both textbooks present similar results. Okay, and about how about society? Society is presented similarly in both textbooks to present a multiracial society. And as for varieties, varieties receive little treatment in both textbooks. So the thing we mentioned here, we can just looking at this chart and we can know the information about what the discussion part are talking about. Okay, so as for the national identities, words related to nationalities prevail. Both textbooks alluded to the same general problems: migrations, pollutions, and poverty. And none of these problems receive further treatment in any of the textbooks because the researchers thought that it is quite not easy for students to deal with these kind of controversial issues since they are not mature enough to deal with the problems. Okay, so this is the reason why the percentage or the proportion is quite low. Okay, as for institutions and organizations, they offer the lowest percentages in both textbooks. And despite the fact that some of the researchers found that there was a tendency of stereotyping in textbooks, they found that a stereotype supposed a small percentage out of the total words classified in their studies. So that's the thing that is not like the previous researchers they are not the same kind of conclusion. As for social interaction is present at different levels in each textbooks. And EA4 provides students with a series of expressions which are included in a phrase bank, being these phrases useful for different everyday situations. And as for AUI are found, the words and expressions in it are found in little boxes around the units in which the students are given a series of useful expressions for concrete situations. So they are not the same. As for the next part of this part is the reason for us to look at this part is that we are going to answer the research question number 2. So the researcher says that there are 2 categories, cultural heritage and geography, whose results have contributed to determine how each textbook treats different cultures. The different cultures are target cultures, source culture, and international culture. And the results evinced that there was a great unbalance regarding the proportion in which these 3 subtypes of culture appear in each textbooks. Both textbooks coincide in the treatment they give to location related to target cultures, and there's little reference to Spanish-speaking countries. So we pay a lot more attention on target cultures instead of the source culture or international culture. Okay, so international cultures and source culture are treated very differently in both textbooks. That is, for example, AUI in this textbook, in international cultures, and we try to focus on the cultures and leave aside places located in the UK. But as EA4, UK and less attention to international cultures. Okay, so that is the difference. And the result in cultural heritage appears to corroborate these different tendencies following by both textbooks. And the first one, that is EA4. EA4 is more than a third are from the USA. As for AUI, higher percentage regarding famous figures with nationalities different from Americans or British. So the conclusion is both textbooks show a lack of famous or important characters from the Spanish speaking world indicates that the source culture is ignored in both. Okay, so here comes the conclusion part. First, the total number of words related to culture encountered in both textbooks is not balanced, as we can see from the proportion or the research result. Our data seem to contradict our initial preposition that higher level textbooks, as is the case of aspire upper intermediate, should contain a higher number of words related to culture. Second, locations and famous or influential characters leaving aside controversial topics which can cause tensions in ELT classroom interactions. And the third one, the present study have also confirmed that the ELT textbook analyzed tend to focus on the target culture. Okay, so what's the implications for these studies? Their research have implications at three levels. The first one is education, second one ELT textbooks and textbook publishers, and the third one researchers. For education part, this study provides evidence about the role these two textbooks play to foster students' intercultural communication in classroom context. Second one, ELT textbook publishers. These research shed light on those aspects of cultural content and vocabulary we seem to need improvement. And the last one is for the further researchers. This study carries out an extensive analysis involving a bigger sample of ELT material. Okay, so the last part is my critique part. And I think that the researchers want to tell us that language and cultures, they are connected. It is no way for us to separate these two interwoven things. But I don't think that it's quite comprehensive to analyze the relationship between language and culture by simply looking at the vocabulary part in the textbook, because there are a lot more things that we can put them into consideration, such as the pictures and charts. They are quite important for students to comprehend the lecture, or for them to understand or to cultivate our students' cultural and intercultural awareness. So if we just looking at the vocabulary part, maybe we neglect big things in order for us to understand what's our students' intercultural competence or intercultural communications are, because it's quite important for them to cultivate students' intercultural communication, but they are neglected in this research. And the last one, as for the discussion part, I don't find a lot of innovative explanations for the statistical difference. So I think the points the researchers made seem to within our understanding of culture teaching. We have already know what's going on for in the field of cultural teaching. So I think that maybe the researchers can add more convincing arguments into the research. Okay, so this is the end of my presentation. And thanks for listening. And that's all